Hello, thanks for looking in on my video. So, got quite a lot to talk about today. Yesterday, on the 24th of September, a former Met police officer called Jake Cummings was sentenced to 16 years imprisonment, and his offences were rape, coercive and controlling behaviour, voyeurism, stalking, and these offences related to three women. Now, do write in and let me know if you've seen this item in the news about Jake Cummings being sentenced to 16 years imprisonment for rape on the 24th of September. Because I don't think this has had much media attention or hasn't hit top billing in the news. But do you think it should be? So there are other items I want to talk about the Met Police today, but this offence by Jake Cummings, he pleaded, he was found guilty, and there's been one following two trials. So he put his poor victims through two trials, and the judge was quite damning about him and said that there were a number of aggravating features. The judge said that he abused his position as a police officer to control his victims, and this was not anything but impulsive behaviour. The totality of his offending demonstrated that he didn't take no for an answer from women, and that he was a serving police officer and his offending must have been abundantly obvious to him. And he concluded that Cummings was dangerous and posed a risk, and he insisted that he must serve 2/3 of a 16-year sentence before parole could be considered. So these offences occurred again with three women. The first was whilst he was a special constable in Dorset. It would appear that he originated from Dorset, and then the other two offences occurred when he was living in Hertfordshire. He was in Hemel for a while, and more recently he lived in Stevenage. Very, very worrying offences. Interestingly, this is the third police officer from the Met who was living in Stevenage and was arrested, and it would appear that the Hertfordshire police had to investigate them. But there have been three in recent years, and the other one who lived in Stevenage was David Carrick, who was a serial rapist who had at least 12 women victims. So rather than stranger rape, this was very horrible behaviour towards women that Jake Cummings was having relationships with. And the three women, although they hadn't compared notes, all said very similar things. The first one was happened in Dorset. Then he also lived in Hemel. Then he was at Stevenage. So in their impact statements, the first victim said, "He always had to know where I was and what I was doing. He was constantly texting. I was depressed for a long time over what he did to me. It had a significant psychological effect on me. He clearly does not feel he did anything wrong, and that is terrifying." The second woman said, "I lost complete control of my life. I lost a little bit of me, really. My dad was in tears a lot." She also said that Cummings had called her a retard. The third woman said, "He made me feel awful every single day. I was so terrified. that no one would believe me. I was so worried he would walk away free. So this awful behaviour, where's it emanate from? You know, what happens to us as we grow up? You know, what sort of lessons do we learn? Do we put enough effort into the education of our youngsters about this sort of issue, about how to behave towards the opposite sex and how to behave appropriately? So recently, the Met have the Independent Office for Police Conduct on the 11th of September have launched an investigation into the Charing Cross police station, which has already had problems. And this is following a Panorama programme investigation. And it is alleged that 11 officers are being investigated by the Independent Office for Police Conduct at the Charing Cross police station. And the allegations are of excessive force, discriminatory, misogynistic behaviour, and failure to challenge it against 11 police officers. And it's alleged that this occurred between August 2024 and January 2025. So this quite widespread problem of misogyny and discriminatory behaviour and excessive force is quite worrying, isn't it? Where this misogyny comes from, what's it about? Because, women offend considerably less than men, and when they do, their offences aren't quite so serious. What is this anti-women attitude by these police officers about? Again, I kind of wonder, who do the police recruit, and what sort of behaviours do people learn as they're growing up? Do write in with your comments about this. Also, another worrying thing about the Met was it was been announced this week that the Met Police are carrying out an internal investigation whether it made mistakes in the vetting of hundreds of new recruits. They're checking whether or not the vetting of at least 300 officers, whether it was substandard or completely lacking, no vetting occurred. So years ago, it was found that Cousins, another sexual offender, serious offender, should have been rejected by vetting procedures when he first joined the police. So the Met have expressed concerns, and I think, don't excuse their behaviour, but I think they've been affected by the way they've been handled by politicians, in that the brakes were put on during, the austerity measures, police cuts and things like that. And then suddenly there was a sort of acceleration programme between 2020 and 2023, where it was called an uplift programme, and they rushed it to recruit loads of officers. And it would appear that during this period that these poor vetting procedures or lapses in vetting occurred. But do write in what you think about it. But I'm really concerned. Now, a person who I recommend you have a look at is a young woman called Issy Vine, who has been calling out the Met Police on issues of misogyny and things like that. And have a look at her YouTubes and see what you think. But she's like a single campaigner, campaigning, saying that the Met's rotten to the core and things like that. Quite worrying, really. But there's all sorts of worrying things still going on about the Met, it would appear. Poor vetting, serious offenders amongst their ranks from time to time, and poor behaviour at Charing Cross police station. What's going on? Write in with your thoughts, and do let me know. The thing is, how can we challenge it? In my next video, I'm going to talk about, I don't think the work that police are doing is effective enough. and in particular, I think they're missing the spot on fraud. So do look out for my next video. Also, do have a look at my video about, I'm a retired probation officer, and I talk about my experiences of having worked in London and the bad practice or the lapses in practice that I experienced from the police. They haven't really hit the media at all, but I was not very impressed at times. You know, things that happen on my watch, I wasn't that impressed. And during my era, you know, the probation officers and social workers very easily got the blame, particularly from the police, who appeared quite Teflon-like. But meanwhile, there's some things going on that I was not impressed with at all. So do have a look at my previous videos. I'll put them below in the comments, and do check out Issy Vine as well. Anyway, do write in with your comments, and thanks for sticking with me and watching this till the end of the video. All the very best now. Cheers. Bye-bye.